But what I like about you guys is that there's also a measurable component. We're all aware of McNamara's fallacy, which says if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. I mean, there is a place for that, but client events, there's a zen, there's a chemistry that comes from these events just for competitor proofing, rejuvenating appreciation. As I get to know you better, you've actually figured out that there are measurable ROIs that come from a financial professional hosting an event. So why don't we start there?
Absolutely. So we get that we're dealing with people who spend a lot of time in numbers, right? Most financial advisors, if you ask them what they're good at, there are those who are empathy and people, but really it's about numbers. So events throw this curveball because their numbers are hard to track. You talk about ROI and that return on the investment of a simple formula of I spend X and I will make Y. Events don't work that way. There are the fixed costs, but we're also saying you need to measure something, right? Because you're talking about the fallacy there. So our philosophy is we have what we call ROM, which is the return on the moment. We talk about events as a moment. It's a rock in your marketing stream. It's a rock in your business stream. And you should have goals and objectives for that moment. And they don't necessarily have to be, I spent A and made B, because it's about deepening relationships. It's about creating exposure for your firm. It's about whatever those things are. Those are the things that you should be measuring to determine success. I came up with this aha moment several years ago. I was reading a book, which I happen to have sitting right here, called The Power of Moments. We can put a link into the show notes about that. It's by two gentlemen named Dan and Chip Heath. And their whole idea is how do we take ordinary moments and make them powerful? And by putting attention to them. And that spurred this whole thought of how do we take this moment? How do we use it as a measurable so we can determine success?
Okay, excellent. Angela, do you want to supplement that?
Yes, of course. I'd like to provide an example that really brings that to life. So I'll bring a real life example, and then I'll bring an advisor event example to the table. One thing that Chip and Dan Heath bring to the forefront in the book is a day at Disneyland. You want this great trip, this great memory, but throughout the day, your little ones will have meltdowns and they're hungry and the lines are long. And when you look back at that event, you take all those little meltdowns out of the equation and you remember the great experience that you had, the great time that you had, the ears and the rides and the photos. So what that's doing is creating positive event memory. You tend to forget the meltdowns and the hunger and the tantrums and all that. You remember the moment. So let me give you an example of an advisor event. So an advisor wants to build relationships with the female clients, finds out what they want, what interests them. They create a painting party. They can bring their friends. They have a great time. They're all building community. And they take this painting home. Some like their paintings, some don't like their paintings. The advisor hangs it up in their office. Doesn't really want to, but he's doing it to spark that memory. And the client, the prospect, wherever they might be hanging that photo, maybe it's the garage, maybe it's their kitchen, they'll remember that event. And they remember the moment they had. The advisor created that experience.